begin? First, and we talked a little bit about this, it's very important to nurture a community of trust that's applicable across environments. So irrespective of the virtual environment or the face-to-face environment, the way we build this community of trust and the way we support the continuous development of our employees is very, very important. Now, you may have been very used to doing this in the prior face-to-face environment, and now things start looking a little bit differently in a virtual or remote environment where your employees are scattered all across the nation or even more remote geographies. And this is also not a one and done type of thing. So I want to caveat this by saying that a lot of these strategies here require continuous level of effort. The advantages and the benefits will start coming, but not right away. Because some very high level examples that we have here, just encouraging the virtual happy hours, even if those are not as good as the in-person happy hours, but still, you know, something to get to that level of relationship building and that level of personal connection. And even on a virtual call, that can be done just maybe by allocating a specific period of time, maybe just 5 minutes in the beginning of your business meeting, but just to talk about something else other than the daily business, other than the results that we need to achieve or the performance metrics and indicators that we need to achieve, as I think many people are very aware of that, but many of us also don't allocate enough time to that personal connection and personal updates. And that will be different by team and whatever each team is comfortable with, but really just asking a question about how's your family doing? How are your kids doing? How's the school program go? How are you dealing with working and living at home? All of that stuff, I've seen that makes a big difference in the level of trust and ultimately motivation and commitment from a team, which is what we want to see. But again, that's not going to happen immediately. It requires a true commitment to this value and for these activities to be implemented on a regular basis. Another strategy that I wanted to point out here is enhancing the communication and feedback loops to continually assess what's working and what's not working, and then adjusting. And this, you may say, like, we're very much aligned with, we know that communicating in a transparent way and also adjusting based on the feedback that we receive, that's something that in the business world, in any type of organization, we've been doing all along. That's true. However, what has changed now is that it's easier to do it in person. And then it's a little bit harder to do it in a video environment. It's even harder to do it over the phone without a video connection. And I think the hardest on the spectrum is to do it as a written communication. So in that case, just to express yourself through emails, that's almost impossible. Or maybe text messages or WhatsApp messages, but more often than not, we find ourselves in that situation right now. So it's something that we should always have in our mind, that it's something that needs to be done, but also account for the additional effort and energy that need to be put in this new environment where everything is a little bit harder, everything takes a little bit longer, everything requires a little bit more of a repetition in order to drive that retention. So of course, the tools that we have here, and many of them have been very much developed over the course of this pandemic, they're far from being perfect, right? Like you cannot replace an in-person meeting with a Zoom or a Google Hangout or whatever you're using. However, many of us at this point, there's just not another option. So we need to adapt with this. And really, I think in this case, in the case of like ensuring a transparent communication, I think the same rules apply, the same principles that we were able to develop during our previous time in the office together. But now it just takes a little bit more time, a little bit more effort, a little bit more patience to get this through. But don't get discouraged, because communication, an open communication channel, and that's also based on trust, where the employee feels like they can share their aspirations as well as their challenges and maybe their disappointments. That's the key to finding stuff out early on, and taking action so that employee retention happens. So it's kind of a way to think about it proactively in advance, and then slowly and gradually working with your employee in the direction of whatever they're trying to achieve, professional development, stuff like that needs to be considered early on. Let's move on to our third strategy here. This is around the well-being of our employees, and the well-being that looks quite differently in this new work environment. And I think many institutions, many organizations, they used to have well-being programs even before 2020, before the pandemic. However, what we've seen over the past year and a half, we've seen an increase in the number of programs that the companies set up for their employees, as well as in the level of interest from and engagement from the employees themselves. We've seen mental health awareness months, meditation, yoga programs that are offered through the institution, as well as the availability of virtual coaches to coach for achievements and success, specifically in this type of environment. And as leaders in your respective industries, I think this is a really important thing to focus on. And it's not always apparent, because it's not directly linked to what you're hoping to achieve from an outcome perspective, but it's indirectly linked, right? If we take care of the well-being, if we manage to take care of the well-being of our employees, then those employees will stay happier longer. They will be more motivated. They will be more likely to drive their work, to take a stance, and to be a leader in your organization and really achieve those outcomes. So it's a little bit more indirect, but nurturing this well-being and making sure that your employees are, not necessarily, not even happy, but just that their needs are taken care of, and recognizing that those needs don't always just have to do with the work at hand. It's not just the tasks in front of us, is not just the project work that we need to talk about. As managers and as leaders, we need to have a more holistic view and really think of the employees as a very comprehensive person beyond the actual work deliverables, but in terms of their overall well-being. And that's the more holistic view that will ultimately drive the outcome that you're hoping to achieve. And then finally, what I have here is the fourth strategy for retaining and grooming employees is to continue to be collaborative. And ultimately, the goal here is to continue to deliver high quality work and ensure the long-term viability of this new work model. So again, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And being collaborative in this type of environment, it's actually a lot of hard work, because it's hard to adapt, right? Because we were used to doing things of the way we used to in the prior environment. And I think in many cases, collaboration just happened because it was more natural. We were in the same place. People just started talking to each other, maybe in the hallway. They would keep each other updated on their work, on their outcomes, and kind of connect the dots that way. Now, it's not just happening. It has to be driven. It has to be purposefully set up in order to make sure that we operate, that we work in a collaborative environment. And in addition, in order to make that happen, some changes at the level of processes, the way we the way we set milestones, and the way we go about tracking progress, some of that needs to change in order to make sure that we continue to deliver high quality work. And that's by no means saying that our standards of quality should decrease. No, I don't think that's the desired outcome here. But again, that word that we've been saying, the flexibility, it needs to be there. The flexibility in adapting, changing some processes, some reporting procedures, some performance indicators, the way we track them, just being open to a new way of doing things and of finding solutions together. So I think even like the ultimate solution in this case, I know you probably hear that a lot, but it's true. The ultimate solution does not, it will be, most of the time, will be a good one. But what really matters here is the process to get there, and how you as a leader, how open you are to co-creating, to generating solutions together with your employees, and being open to and realizing this is a new way, this kind of environment requires a new way of doing things.